Go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next workshop in the 3D Printing Revolution workshop series. And today, our topic is lithopanes. So, what are lithopanes? The French word for lithopanes is lithophane. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's it. That's how it's spelled in French. It's basically etched or modeled artwork onto a thin, translucent porcelain, and how it's formulated or what's the end goal is to have an image shown when there's a light source behind the actual porcelain, and we call this backlit. Um, it presents a 3D image, and these are not to be confused with 2D engravings or any daguerreotypes, which are flat. These images can change characteristics depending on the light source behind them. For example, there's something called a window lithopane panel, and so these scenes can change during the day because of the amount of light that's available in the during the day. Now, some quick history on lithopanes. So it's initially a Greek word. So litho stands for lithos, which stands for rock in Greek. Phanian means to cause to appear. And so lithopane is basically light in stone or to appear in stone, of course, when backlit. And some lithopanes were even commemorated events, such as the opening of the Eiffel Tower in 1889. And lithopanes back then were pretty valuable. And if you can see on the right side, there's an image where the lithopane is actually being held by a um, designated lithopane holder. So these lithopanes were pretty big back in the day. Um, Now I'm going to talk about Samuel Colt. So basically, Samuel Colt is a famous guy, and he had 111 lithopanes made for him for wide distribution in 1855. And as you can see in the picture, he had a compass in one hand, I think in his left hand, and then he had a Colt in another. Lithopanes can come in various formats. For example, they could be plaques hung from windows. They can be candle shields. They can be fireplace screens, night lights, tea warmers, match roses, um, beer steins, mugs and cups. There were even some souvenir ornaments of erotica images. This was back in the day too. Lanterns and lamps, which are used nowadays, as well as night lights. All of these are still used today. You can still do all of this, and what we can do is with 3D prints or with 3D printing. And on the right is a 3D printed cat lithopane, and basically these are 3D representation of a photo, and you can see this with it requires a light source, however, because um, it's the image is formed by the amount of light that's shown from behind to the person's eyes. Um, this is basically a grayscale representation. It takes a grayscale representation of the image in 3D printing, and depending on the color, it translates that image to a specific 3D printed height. So it will shine, or it would allow certain amounts of light to shine through. For example, if you can see the eyes of the cat, you can see that it's black, and so the 3D printed height would be higher than it would be then the white portion of the cat's eyes, because it would allow more light to come in and thus shine a more um, whiter color than the rest of the eye, and then formulate this entire image through the height of the 3D printer. Now it's show and tell time, and then this is my work setting. Now we're going to go to show and tell, and first I think we have Solomon Denning here, and he's going to show us his awesome piece.
All right. I have pictures I can show if I share my screen. I can also show the litho pane itself. Okay, let me do this real quick. All right. So here on the right, you can see that I have this picture of a Woody with a drip. And I decided I wanted to make this a litho pane, so I went ahead and did that. I have the actual one here, but it's a little hard to show or to have backlight on it because it's white, but I can attempt to do it. There you go. So you got Woody there. And yeah, there's the one that I made.
Nice. Thank you, Solomon. I think we have another willing volunteer, Jeremy. Would you like to come online?
Yep, allow me to start my video. And
take out the background so you
yeah, I think I found a way to make this visible just by holding it up right around here. So can you guys see that okay?
Sort of.
Sort of. This is a picture of Jase, also known as XXX Tentacion. This is known as a Ja coin. This is a really interesting lithophane. I like how very thin it is. It's very thin. And yet the picture you can't really see too well in the video right now, but yeah, actually, let me just turn off my background. Yeah, the picture turns out really well just under direct light. That's what I like about this. And Armand was gracious enough to drop this by when he came over to Sacramento. So thank you, Armand.
No problem. So if no one else has any other lithopanes to show, I would show you guys my lithopane I made of a picture from my brother. So first I'm going to show you the lithopane, and then I'm going to show you how I made it from start to finish. So this is the one I have. Basically, of course, he's my brother, and it's his graduation day. You can see his cap, and I'm not sure if you can see his tassel too, but that it's pretty well defined in this lithopane. Once you actually hold a lithopane and run your finger through, you can see that there are micro variations in the 3D printed height, and that's the whole idea behind the lithopane. Is those micro variations allow certain amounts of light to go through and thus form an image in the user's eyes. So let me share my screen and show you guys how you can create your very own lithopane. So I use this, it's litho.com maker. It's just something I found online. You can use your own basically, but basically you would upload an image right here. Then you would go to edit. You might want to crop something. You can mirror it. You can flip the image. That's good too. You can actually crop your image. You can rotate your image. For example, I can rotate it like this. Let me try move it back. Now I can increase the exposure. You can mess with the exposure, contrast, brightness, and even add more blur. For example, I can blur this photo right here. If you go to this, some other attributes here you can mess with. For example, if you're doing colors, for the purpose of this workshop, we are not messing with colors. We're doing grayscale. Then you can go to the model. And what's fun about its litho is that if you go down here, you can enable a lamp sort of like attribute here, which would basically give it some kind of structure back end where you can just put this in front of a lamp. What's even better is you can have a nightlight. So if you ever use a nightlight, basically there's a cover that goes on top of the bulb, and how it does that is basically slides into the bottom of the bulb, and that's what this portion down here does. So there's lots of different items or lots of different attributes or options you can do, and once you do that, you can press download, and then you can click on this lithopane, and it'll download the STL file, the standard teleslated geometry file format. So basically, what that means, or that what that gives you, is the STL file for you to 3D print. And so when you have that STL file, you input that into whatever 3D printing software you use, and then you 3D print it, and then bam, that's it. One thing I want to mention is that when you're printing this up, um, try not to do it vertically like this, because that will mess up your 3D print. Um, you don't want it to be face down as well, even with supports, because the picture will come out pretty bad. What you want to do is keep this back onto the bottom, because that will give it a nice clean structure, or a nice clean ish plate, so that when it's 3D printing, it can 3D print the image from the top up. Uh, and that's basically the only way you would want to print it. Of course, you can mess with different ways of printing, but that's my suggestion of the um, what I've experienced so far with lithopanes. And so that's it for this workshop. Thank you for coming. This is it's litho.com, and thank you for coming to the 3D Printing Revolution workshop. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. What's the layer height that you use to print it? Like, do you have to use something like fine print?
Not exactly. I use normal for some of them, but for this one, I used actually no, I use fast printing, the fast printing setting for the Creality software for some of them. But for this one, I put normal, just cause I just want to see how the quality is. But I guess with higher quality, or with a small amount of um, speed and higher quality, you can get better quality lithopanes.
Okay, yeah, because that one looks high def.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question actually.
Yes.
So is Litho, is it a free software? Do you have to register an account or anything?
No, it's a free software. It's open source, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You know how some computer cases or PC cases have like an image on their glass panel portion for it? Is that considered a lithopane at that point or not?
Is there a light source behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If they have an RGB inside there, then it definitely does. Because I've seen some that do depend only on the RGB of the case.
I guess it depends. Is because if I mean, this gets down to like the pure definitions of lithopanes and everything. But you said it's a glass case, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually material that's not supposed to be transparent. And so
Okay.
with glass or with transparent material, you can basically see everything behind it, and it doesn't matter if there's a light source or anything. Just the shape of it, you can pretty much determine how it is. But the whole idea behind the lithopane is that you want material that light is not going to pass through, so that you can manipulate that light to formulate an image of your choosing.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for asking the questions. Does anyone have any more questions? If not, then have a great day, and I hope to see you guys next time on our 3D Printed Revolution Workshop series. Thank you, and have a nice day.